So M. Night Shyamalan has a new movie, which means that there's going to be a lot of bitching about the movie, like there always is. Every time this guy releases a movie, everyone expects it to be The Sixth Sense or something, and always judge it against that, I guess. I don't know. But I was just going to these movies to have a good time and see what they are, and if I'm vibing with them, I do, and typically I enjoy his movies. I enjoy his new work. I really enjoyed Old. I really enjoyed... The Visit, I love.
I love The Visit.
Knock at the Cabin, I wasn't as big on, but I still liked it. So anyway, Trap is his newest film, and this stars Josh Hartnett. What's the last time you heard that? A big major release starring Josh Hartnett.
It's been a while.
It's been a long while. Cool to see him return.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep the plot out of this for the opening, and then I'll get into the plot after our initial thoughts. Just like our quick thoughts, and then I'll give a plot synopsis. So if you were like me, and especially like Kayla, who avoided everything about this film, I knew something. I looked at the poster, which was a mistake if you wanted to. Although the poster did give me a different idea of what this might be about. So going in, I actually thought something different, but something similar.
Right.
As to where you knew nothing.
Yeah.
So if you can go into this blind, definitely recommend it. Okay, so I've definitely seen a bunch of hubbub online, of course. I'm not going to try to spend too much time on that. I've just seen some stuff that I very much disagree with, and that's fine. But I personally really enjoyed this. I think it's a movie that you should just, we'll get more into my thoughts on it after I say the synopsis, because I can't really say anything without giving a synopsis.
Yeah, I really loved it. I thought it was great. I had a really good time with it, perhaps because I knew nothing going into it, so I was pretty surprised.
Yeah.
So it worked for me because I didn't have any, I thought this was The Beast Within. That's like the movie I was confusing it with.
We were walking to the theater. She was like, "Oh, this is the werewolf movie with Kit Harington," and I'm like, "Are you serious?" And she's like, "Oh no, what is this?" And I was like,
"So yeah,
what?"
I had no. I knew it was an M. Night one, but I loved it. I thought it was great. I had a great time with it.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. As big into films as you are, you pretty much stay off of online or like any of that for the films. You kind of just let me tell you what's coming out.
Yeah, I don't ever look things up unless
we'll do some trailer reactions, and then I'll tell her if there's a big movie coming out, like a sequel or anything like that. But for the most part, I'm just kind of like, we're going to the movies tonight, and she's like, okay, and we just go.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that's the best way to view them. But okay, so now you got our very, very
bite-sized
opinion here. But now as far as the plot synopsis goes, for those of you who want that and more deeper thoughts on that, this is about a dad, played by Josh Hartnett, and he's taking his daughter to the big pop star of their generation, Lady Raven, and whilst inside there is a lot of cops, and they're there looking for a serial killer who they've gotten information. They got a lead that he was going to be there, and so they created a trap for him to not be able to get out of. And wouldn't you know it, this is revealed in the trailer. Josh Hartnett is that serial killer, and they want to arrest him, and of course he has to try to figure his way out of the trap. So when I saw the poster and it said 30,000 fans, 300 cops, one serial killer, no escape or no exit or whatever, I think it's no escape, I thought that he set a trap to kill all of the fans. Since I avoided the trailers, when I read the poster, I was like, oh, okay, so he's a serial killer. He did something where he's trapped all the fans inside. The cops are on the outside, after they get the report that he's got everyone trapped, and they're trying to defuse the bomb. They're trying to stop the killer from killing everyone in the arena. So I was kind of half right. sort of, but it was the opposite. It was them trying to trap him. So, as I said, I'm not going to get too much into what other people said about this movie with, like, the contrivances and all that. The thing I'll say, because I think I would have said this anyway, if you're vibing with a movie, you'll just roll with it, right? And as long as things aren't too egregious, I'm always good with it. Because at the end of the day, this is a movie. We're never going to get authentic police work. That's just not going to happen in movies. If we got authentic police work, we wouldn't watch because it would be the most boring shit of all time. Right? Movies have always been theatrical. Things in movies are always going to expect a suspension of disbelief to some degree or another. There is like a balance to that. And that's like what makes a good filmmaker, is asking the audience to come to the very precipice, the very edge of the suspension, keeping them there throughout the film and never pulling them over. You know, and you can do that by really good performances and really witty dialogue or really clever moments or whatever. Like, as long as you're vibing with something, your suspension meter starts to increase. And then it has to get more and more ridiculous for you to be broken out of it, right? So, and if you're not vibing with a movie and you're not enjoying it and you start off... So, I think the reason that, like, I wasn't really analyzing the police stuff in this, and I never found the police stuff in this to be, like, so dumb I couldn't take it. I always thought that they just made his character 3 steps ahead, and the explanations we get in here are no better or no worse than any other film I've ever watched in my entire life when it comes to, like, 100 police looking for one guy. This is always how these movies play out. There's always conveniences. It is what it is. But I will say, seeing Josh Hartnett back was cool, and I thought he gave a great performance. But as a father who has daughters, and he's taking them to some pop star, some Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, you fill in the pop star you want, the sweetness between them beforehand, it gave me this weird moment, because, like, not only was I very much invested instantly with him and his daughter, but also, like, I really struggled morally back and forth throughout the film on, like, do I want this guy caught? And that I thought was really well set up here. Ultimately, yes, I want him caught. Yes, ultimately, I want him taken down, because he's a terrible person. But he is so likable, and I really like how he played this, and I really like how he's written, because he is very charming, and he is very charismatic, and his relationship with his daughter is very relatable. And, you know, I'll get more into my thoughts on that in a minute, but I don't want to take everything from you.
No, I agree, though. I thought that, like, he has such a great performance that it does kind of make you feel in complex ways towards the character, because on one hand he's a great father and you can really see that, but then you also know, like, what he is outside of that role, which is a monster. So I thought that was very fascinating, and I really loved seeing... I always like, you know, in movies when we are following, like, the antagonist and getting to see, like, inside their mind and, you know, how they're approaching situations and problem solving and everything.
Dexter.
Yeah, I was very much reminded of Dexter. Yes, and I really like that. I think that's a unique, or at least a very interesting perspective to take, because it puts the audience in, you know, you're just in different shoes than you normally would be, and you like to usually watch the protagonist and be rooting for him. So, but I like I said, I was super into the film. I really liked the setup. I liked the location of being in this, like, giant concert venue with all of these, like, you know, women and young girls that are, like, super head over heels for Lady Raven, and I found that to be, like, already for me would be a stressful situation to be, like, around 30,000 people, but it just kind of, like, amped everything up because you have so many just, like, innocents and, like, just, you know, random people around. So I really enjoyed the setting. And then Lady Raven, the music was fantastic.
Yeah.
The fact
very
that
believable for like modern music and like what would be popular right now. I was listening to it throughout, being like, this is 100,000% what my kids would be listening to.
Totally. And it was beautiful, and I thought it was really great. I love her character. She probably is... I mean, there's a lot of great characters, but she's one of my favorites for sure. I just love how she was handled, and I think that, like, her attitude towards everything was what I related to the most. She's a very empathetic character. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this... I don't know if we're going to tag this as, like, a spoiler-free.
It is.
Because... I sort of feel like, you know, finding out that he's a serial killer, even though it's revealed in the trailer, I feel like that's a huge spoiler.
It's literally on the poster.
I know.
And plus, we started this by saying, like, if you don't want to know anything, here's our thoughts. We covered our bases on that.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it was great. I love the daughter, her performance, and there was a lot of tension. I think it was a very, like, suspenseful movie. I was really bought into all of that, you know. And yeah, I think that we kind of already talked about it, but I'll just say, like, everybody, if you compare, you know, any of M. Night's movies, like modern ones, to something like The Sixth Sense, I think it's unfair. I think that, like, expecting him to always do some kind of, like, really massive twist that, like, you don't know about, even though that might be, like, kind of a signature of him, I don't think he should be boxed in on that.
Here's something that will get me immediately, like, discredited as a critic in general. We just rewatched all of M. Night Shyamalan's films.
We did.
Like, every one of them.
Yeah.
And we watched The Sixth Sense, and I'm not really big on the movie. Like, I think that the twist is really, like, you know, obviously iconic and people love it, but I enjoyed this more than fucking Sixth Sense.
Oh, really?
So that's what I'm saying, like, where I'm just kind of like, everything leads up to that twist, and once you know it, you kind of just watch the film, like, looking for the clues for it throughout, and it's very obvious once you know it, and you're like, how didn't we guess this? But I find the film very, like, dull for the most part. It's a very slow film, and I don't hate it. I think it's good. I just wasn't all that entertained, as to where with this one, I was fully engaged throughout the entire thing, and there's this tense atmosphere to it the entire time, because you can feel the pressure of it from, you know, as soon as he starts to notice the cops.
Yeah.
And then once, like, he's looking for his exit, and he tries a multitude of different things. And if you're going to go into this being like, this is a ridiculous premise, then you're already setting yourself up for failure. This is either something you're going to accept as a plot, or you're not. I don't, like, people are so silly with films, and I'm not completely innocent of this myself. We have talked about tons of films. You know, obviously I've done almost 3,500 videos on this channel, and I've broken down the logic of so many silly things over the years that I've been doing this. But when I was watching other people that I know's reviews and other reviewers, they just harp so much, like, that was their main focus of their review, was like the believability of the police presence in the movie. And it's like, I don't see it. I don't see why that's such a focus when it is literally zero different than almost every other film where cops have surrounded the building, and the guys inside have to come up with something on the fly, and there's always can be. I can name 10 movies off the top of my head that people adore, they love, and the police work in it is exactly the same as this film. It's just convenience in the moments of, like, this character does that thing, and it's like every little part, like, he breaks down when he's going through this place. He literally goes, and he has very intelligent ways of, like, of getting himself out smart. Of things.
Yes.
Where he's like, you know, he also has to be a father. In this moment, and he has to go away from his daughter, and he has to come up with reasons why he'd be gone. And I think he always has a good reason. I think that the writing always allows him to give those, to where it's kind of like, wouldn't his daughter be noticing? Like, it's just enough, and there's enough, like, moments where he's interacting with all these different situations
Yeah.
And things like really never went the way that I thought they were going to go. I was like, oh, I
No.
think he's going to do this now. And then it didn't happen. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I was surprised
Yeah.
a lot. And like what you were saying too, I think we've said this in other reviews, but when you don't like a movie, like you definitely are much more nitpicky with things. So that
100%.
always happens. We try not to, but we do it for sure sometimes.
People are trying to be smarter than the movie.
But I liked all the police work, and I guess what I was kind of talking about, or what I was thinking of when I was saying that I like the setting so much,
Yeah.
is that not only is it like the public space where there's a lot of people involved, but also specifically because it's a concert that he's taking his daughter to, there's that like focus on the family, on the like father-daughter connection of him, like, you know, he's there for her and trying, and like just all the tension around that. I'm not saying that the way that I want to say it necessarily, but I just
there's an
I
added
like that.
layer
Yeah, like
because-
it's different if he was like by himself in like an airport or something. Like that's what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
Like he has not only is he trying not to get caught, but he's also
It elevates
trying to protect his daughter.
It elevates the stakes
Yeah.
for him.
Exactly.
Right, because he doesn't want to be exposed, because they do a great job of showing that even though he's a monster, he truly loves his child, and he does not want to be caught in front of her.
Yeah.
Right? So that like adds to it, and he's also like throughout the whole film, he never ever wants to put his daughter in jeopardy.
Right.
He never wants to, it's always about protecting his kid. So it shows a very different side to what we're used to in movies when it comes to killers.
Yeah. I think like we had said, since this does kind of have Dexter vibes in terms of like how charming and intelligent and attractive too, because he looks really good in this. If you like that kind of a vibe, like the Dexter or something similar, maybe even like Hannibal kind of, like I think you'll really enjoy this, because it's very entertaining to watch him like manipulate and work his way out of situations, because you are very much, like we've said, on that cusp of like you want him to get caught, but you also want to see how he's going to get out of it.
Of course. Of course, that's what you're there for.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to be going on throughout. And I always felt the explanations and the motive, like the ways that he went about things, they felt clever enough for me that I never, like, it's like we talk about with the Saw movies. And I said this when we were talking about it in the car, but it's like, when it comes to those movies, I don't need anything to be probable, right? I don't need things to like be something that's like, oh yeah, that probably would happen. I just need them to be 1% possible.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't have to be completely the most likely scenario of anything. As long as I can be like, yeah, that could happen.
It could happen, yeah.
It's like, it's fine. So I don't know. I never had an issue with any of that stuff. I really enjoyed Hartnett's performance. I thought that, I never, and this is another thing. I think if Lady Raven wasn't played by M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, I don't think people would focus on it at all, because they are at a concert. I was seeing some reviews being like, how many times do we have to see her sing? They're at a concert. They're at a concert.
I really loved her music, and I think she's got a beautiful voice.
I think this is where people are absolutely out of their mind.
The concert setting is utilized perfectly, because it's like, it isn't just like a random location. Like it's used in every sense of the word. Like like they're in the concert venue, they're watching the concert is happening, they're going to like, concession stands and all this stuff. Like it's very much a part of where they are. It's not just like a backdrop, like it's, actively involved in the plot.
But this is, okay, so this is where I'm at with this. Number one, if you're a parent and you love your kid and you don't think that you would put them in a film, especially if like they really wanted to be and they were talented, you would. You just would. I would. So to even suggest otherwise, I don't know. Regardless, putting all of that aside, with her in the movie, like, did M. Night write this with the idea of, like, showcasing his daughter's music? I think he worked in tandem with her,
Yeah.
and she wrote an album for this movie. so that they could showcase her as a legitimate pop star. Like,
Yeah.
one of the things that in movies, when we see that, like, pretend pop star, there's always, like, you know, this like moment where you're kind of asked to believe that this person would be famous, that this person would actually be the pop icon that they are.
Yeah.
And it's like, is the music and the performances and everything authentic enough? Because I've seen enough Taylor Swift. You know, I went to the 3-hour freaking concert movie in the theaters with my kids, and they watched like Billie Eilish concerts and you know, Olivia Rodrigo, and they went to all these shows, and like they are. And I'm exposed to pop stars. You know, Tate McRae, and I can name
especially
them all.
modern pop stars.
Yes,
too.
modern.
Yeah.
So like, all of that felt authentic
Yeah.
to what I've experienced, and I just feel like the fact that I get to see M. Night Shyamalan work, not only does his daughter get to release a movie, The Watchers, earlier this year, which I wasn't a big fan of, but it was cool that she got to put something out like that, and that, you know, the nepotism doesn't bother me in that regard, because they're doing their thing. You would take advantage of it if you could as well. I would. If my dad was somebody and I could make movies off of him, I would fucking do it 100%. And we've been dealing with nepotism in Hollywood forever. I grew up in love with Drew Barrymore. She's as big as a nepotism as there is. But like, the way that they showcase it together, where like, I love that I got to see M. Night Shyamalan, like, you know, work with his daughter and like collaborate on like a piece of thing, like something where she had a talent that she could bring, and she recorded an entire record to feel like an authentic pop star, for him to showcase his daughter, and for them to build a whole movie around it. But the movie also stood on its own for me.
Yeah.
And I was really into everything. Like, I never got distracted by the music. It just felt like a really pretty backdrop that felt authentic in that world. And then there's another one where she does like an a cappella later in it. And if that's, I'm assuming that's her singing and everything. Amazing.
Amazing
just
voice.
Gorgeous voice. Very pretty girl.
Oh yeah, she's
like,
beautiful.
very believable all the way around. It never felt like, is her acting amazing? It's fine.
I wasn't bothered
totally
by
fine
it at all, but
so,
I do think that
I feel like I'm defending. I hate when I do this, but
I do think that, like, if the music, like, if, like you said, if it wasn't her, or if she wasn't as talented or whatever, I think that
there'd
it would
be no focus on it at all.
There wouldn't be a focus on it, but I think that would be like, it would bring down the movie to an extent, because I really like how it's incorporated in the film, and like seeing the daughter's reaction and like all the fans' reaction feels so realistic, and I love that.
Yes.
Like, it had me very emotional at times, because I was just like, I felt like I was seeing like real joy, and it reminded me of our kids and like how they act when they like see Taylor Swift, or like, you know, talk about going to her concert or whatever. So there's that. And then I also think that this is a pretty interesting movie to come out before Smile 2, because that also involves a pop star. So I'm very curious on how they're going to handle that aspect. I know it's probably not going to have a lot of like concert scenes, but there will likely be a few performance scenes. So I am curious like how that will compare, because this one has a very realistic pop star, and I'm just wondering if they'll be able to pull off the same thing. I know it's not by M. Night, but I just was thinking of that just now, like, oh, okay.
I'm also now realizing that I'm not your average bear. So, like, typically guys my age despise music like this, and it always has to be like some kind of flex where they're like I see it all the time, and it drives me fucking nuts, but on like Facebook or wherever, it's always just like, there has to be one like random tweet, like a message like on their wall like every week of like, I hate Taylor Swift. It's like, okay, cool, I don't care. Like, my kids make me listen to, you know, everyone I've mentioned and so many more people, and I totally am fine with their music. I'm not that guy who just hates on things because I feel like, I don't know, I never bought into that stuff, and I enjoy it. I think it's totally fine. Like, when it's on in the car or when I'm listening to it with them, I totally like it. I thought all the music in this was very good, and I don't know. So I think if you're someone who's like hates pop music, and you like hate nepotism, and then you overthink like the plot, oh my God, this is going to be torture to sit
Yeah.
through. So I get why they don't like it, because all of those things are like working against them, but literally none of it bothered me. So I was just able to enjoy a really zany, wild performance from Josh Hartnett in a really cool like collaboration between daughter and father,
Yeah.
which, you know, and the whole story is a daughter-father kind of thing. And shout out to Allison Pill being in this. I haven't seen her in a little while. I love
Yeah.
that chick. She's great.
It's great. I don't know. I hope you guys like it as much as we do. And
Yeah.
if you don't, you don't. It's fine.
Yeah,
But
just
I
I'm
would
trying
just
to
go into it with like an open mind and try and like, you know, it's not that I definitely don't think it's a dumb plot or that there's like, you know, the overthinking thing. Like, of course, think about it as deeply as you'd like,
Sure.
but you know, maybe try and like just let the movie play out before you start analyzing it, I guess.
do whatever you want.
I don't know.
I'm just trying to give perspective on the other side.
Yeah.
Since there's been so much talk about how dumb everything is. I don't know. I
We
feel like
liked
you
it.
guys watch me enough
Yeah.
that you know that I really am hard on dumb stuff. And I don't find the stuff in this all that dumb. Like,
No.
I actually thought most of the movie was pretty clever. So maybe I'm an idiot, but I feel like I
I
break
really
down
liked it.
all the things in films and I'm like, this is dumb. This movie is just not dumb to me. Like, I don't see it. I really don't understand. Yes, could we get into a logic debate? Sure, I can do that with literally every film I've ever watched in my life. I genuinely can't think of a single film I've ever watched where I don't have to, like, turn off a little logic center of my brain, because logical films are boring if they were to ever exist. They just don't, because it's not entertaining. Anyway, that's that. I'm defending it because I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like M. Night Shyamalan always has a very specific expectation with him.
Yeah.
And I feel like at this point, I'm shocked that people continue to keep coming back to shit on him again. Like, typically directors put out a couple movies that people love, and then, you know, he puts out a film or two they don't like, and they basically just, like,
Stay
away from
Yeah.
him. But this, for some reason, with M. Night, it's like people they want so badly for him to make another film that resonates with them, like, you know, the first few films he made. They saw Signs, and it's like the Bible to them.
Sure.
And they're like, why doesn't he make films like that anymore? Because he's in a different place in his life. And
Yeah,
now he's
exactly.
focused on his kids, and he wants to do this. And if you vibe with it, you do. I'm not shitting on you. That's not what this is. It's fascinating, I guess, is what I'm saying. There's plenty of things that I say that are stupid as shit. And none of us are innocent in any of the things that we do. So that's that.
Anyway.
All right, guys.
Let us know what you thought.
Yeah, definitely.
We're curious.
I'll see you in the comments, and we'll fight down there.
Bye.